Hey, welcome to another episode. Today, I'm super excited to welcome Lekha Vyas, the founder of ELVY Lab, a skincare and personal care brand that simplifies men's daily skincare routines. Lekha has over 15 years, that's a lot, of experience in the beauty industry, working for giants like P&G, L'Oreal, and Chanel. In 2022, she launched her own company. It's a men's skincare company, not for women, for men, driven by two core values, simplicity and performance. Hey, Lekha, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Brian. That was a really good intro. We just aged me, but that's great. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about everything LV Lab, direct to consumer, and whatever you want to know.
Yeah, so I want to know everything. I will tell you right now. And I'm sure the audience too, keep in mind the audience, we have fellow, founders or aspiring founders, people who want to start a company in this space or in a different one, why not? Or even we have, marketing directors, we have marketers as well. So I think this will be a very interesting one for all of them, actually, because we have a variety of topics to discuss today. So I'll get started with the first question I have, which is, how did you get where you're at today? You worked for these huge companies I mentioned in the intro. So what inspired you to leave and start LV?
So, as you said that I have gained so much experience, and I do think I worked at Procter and Gamble, L'Oreal, Chanel, Estee Lauder. I was on the founding team for Gila Beauty. I was on Ellen
Wow.
DeGeneres Beauty. So I think once I did all of that, I always wanted to do something on my own, and I had always been very inspired by the men's space. When I was at P&G, Gillette used to be the monopoly in the market for grooming. Like there was no other razors. There was like these like little dollar ones you would get at a dollar store. But besides that, it was all Gillette. And when I saw Harry's and Dollar Shave Club come and disrupt that space, nobody thought that could happen. Even at Gillette, people were like, it's fine. It's another new brand. It's going to die down. That really disrupted the space, right? So I think when we compare like what grooming used to be versus what it can be, I think there was a huge kind of like a revolution in that space where like men started to think about grooming, and it became like, beard for men is like makeup for women. It changes your face, right? So I think men do want to look good. They want to feel good. And I think I did have a personal reason as well as to why I built the brand. I didn't realize this as a kid, but when I got older, I actually lost one of my cousins and my friend to suicide. And it was all stemming from like insecurities when you're going through puberty and self-esteem and bullying, which I think a lot of kids still go through right now. But at least me being a millennial, what I've noticed is that insecurities that were formed at a younger age in your teens and early 20s, they kind of like stay with you until later, unless you address them, right? And I think in the world that we live in, it's considered kind of not so masculine for men to take care of themselves. So I wanted to create something, an avenue for men to have a one-stop shop for all their self-care needs. And I think self-care is for everyone, not just for women. I think men also deserve to look and feel good. And at the end of the day, I'm improving the dating market for females too, because they also want to have good-looking men in their lives. So I think it's a win-win for all of us.
Yes, I totally agree. And I did this offline, but I wanted to thank you on the record for, betting on us, on
Yeah.
men, because it's not, easy, or I guess it's not easy, to succeed as a men's skincare brand as it must be as a women's
Yeah.
skincare brand, or probably, you have a bigger market for women, but also, a lot of competition as well. So who knows? It must be something good as well. So I wanted to ask about something that he said in the intro, but I wanted to emphasize something about that, and it's the fact that you have already defined your your core values so early. I mean, you created a company in what, 2022, and you already have
23, like a soft launch.
23. Oh,
Yeah, it was
23.
we did a
Oh,
soft launch for holiday just to test the market, and then we launched it
right,
last year.
right. Yes,
Yeah.
I
Same
remember
the
now.
same thing.
Yeah. So even better. So 2023, over a year, right?
Yeah.
A little bit over a year. So, and you have already defined the core values, simplicity and performance. So I wanted
Right.
to ask you a few questions about that. The first
Yeah.
one is, why did you decide to do that so early in the journey? And the second one is, how do they translate into, everything in your business, like product creation, hires, and everything else?
For sure. I mean, the whole brand premise is actually why the brand even started was based on simplicity and performance. So when I came up with the idea, I actually built this company in a cancer ward with my mom. She was struggling with cancer at the time. And my mom was like, honey, don't you want to bet the market? And, I was like, just so sure about the space from a timing standpoint, because what happened with the COVID and Zoom culture, the attention is on the face, right? And as women, I can slap makeup on, but for guys, it's like, sometimes you have skin issues. The eyes are the first signs of aging, and men have complained about insecurities. And my mom was like, vet the market before you get into this, right? So I was like, okay, fine, we'll do consumer study. And what we found in the consumer study, it's the entire brand, even like the brand creation, the colors, the numbers, the formulation, everything was based on this consumer studies. We actually asked consumers, we vetted the market, asked 3,000 people to tell us, do they want a product for men? If men care about looking good, where do they shop? What are they looking for? What is the age range? What's demographic? Like everything you want to know about your consumer. And then we ask them, like, you're not buying anything today. And if you were to buy something, what are the few things that you would absolutely be a non-negotiable in your product? And the first thing was men are very simple creatures. They want something super brainless and simple, right? Even as a woman, I'm like, I don't want to stand at the counter and like read, oh, what is this toner? When do I put it on? Like there's like 10 steps for females. But for guys, I'm like, we'll just create the essentials. We'll make it super brainless, take the guesswork out of skincare. That's where our products are 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're just gonna make sure it is backed by science. So I want to make it super clean, super green, but science backed. Like obviously I come from a very science backed family, and for me effectiveness was key. I've also worked in product my whole life, and it's like people don't know L'Oreal owns SkinCeuticals, they own Kiehl's, Estee Lauder owns the balance of the good brands on the space. So for me, like I've been so close to product and product development that I wanted to create something that is super effective and it works, right? So we kind of took the three things that men said: simple, performance, which is effectiveness, and then I added my touch of the aesthetics, which was, our packaging. Let me just grab the packaging so I can show
Go ahead.
you
For
what
those
you have.
listening, she's grabbing one of the products.
Okay, let me just
Yeah,
share
go
that.
find them. No worries.
We're gonna have to cut this piece.
So I'm not Shakira. I'm not gonna sing while go go find the product. But we, it's a very interesting brand that she's building while she looks for a product. Um,
Yeah.
so there you go. Because for
So,
those listening to this, she has, a beautiful, clean, and simple background with the name of the brand. So she disappeared from the screen for a minute, and it was
so
like, oh,
like, yeah.
there you go.
So we have four
Yeah,
products. I have the two
yeah,
in my hand. So like our packaging is basically no touch. So you just dispense the product on your, face. So you don't
yeah.
double dip into jars cause contamination. So I'm always kind of like, we just want to make it so simple, easy to carry, super easy to travel with, and then make sure it works and it gives you that affordable luxury feeling, because men want that. They want to feel good about what they're using. And also from a consumer perception study, it's, P&G always says this thing, first moment of truth. So when you touch, feel, smell a product, it makes
Yes.
you feel a certain kind of way. So for us, I think the packaging was very key. And this product is like our eye cream. Just quickly about it, this is my
Yes.
favorite because it has these roller balls and that's patented. And when you
Okay.
apply it, the ingredients are, obviously very science backed, so they actually work. And that was like really the premise of simplicity and performance. So we joke
Good.
about it for the Nike of skincare, simplicity and
Then,
performance.
okay, tell me about that. Nike of skincare is because of what you just said, or because of something else?
It's both, right? I think it is really because of what I said. So, Nike's thing is just do it. And they're a performance-based shoe brand, an athletic brand. So for us, we're performance-based skincare brand that is simplified. So
Yeah.
that's really, simply.
Yeah. The other day I gave a workshop to a beautiful e-commerce community from the UK, and one of the key elements was something that I heard a while ago about Nike and Apple, and it was about having a unique personality, the branding effect, and it's not rocket science. All of us know know it by now, or about the importance of having a unique personality in a brand, but when I heard about these, the guy who was saying this asked the audience a question that resonated with me. So I included it in the workshop. And it was something like, if Apple had an hotel, the Apple Hotel, what would it look like? Can you imagine that? What about Nike? Can you imagine the Nike Hotel?
Yeah.
Like, and the answer is yes. And you can probably, so when you talk about your own brand, can you imagine your ELVY Lab hotel? And moreover, can your team imagine that? Can your customers imagine
Right.
that? So the fact that you have a clear comparison to Nike, of course, it's a different category, different things, but the fact that you want to be like them, it gives you a clear guidance on many things, I guess, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think for us, that was really the driving force, right? We wanted to create this brand based on consumer feedback. I did never want it to be about, I had a mission to close the gap in the market, but the brand side of things, like you're selling to the customer. So if you don't know what they want, you're not going to be able to address their needs, right? So I think for us, when we do product development or like rebranding or whatever we may do in the future, we're always going to put consumer in the, in the forefront and ask them what they want. What kind of smells do you want? What kind of aesthetic do you want? What kind of packaging do you want? Do you like this packaging? So we always engage with our customers quite a bit. And we do focus groups with the existing customers to understand like what they like, what they don't like, how can we improve? I think that goes a long way because customers feel like they were part of the brand building.
You mentioned one of the ways, and I want to ask you about what other ways. You mentioned focus groups. How do you get customer feedback, and how did you? What was the first time you got customer feedback? I guess before creating the product, you said you survey, people. So how did you go about that? Because I guess there must be many people in the audience wondering, how do I know if there's product market fit? How can I validate, if there's demand for what I want to create, or the nuances of what I want to create.
Yeah, I think there is a huge need, and I tell any other founder that's trying to build their brand, because I got this advice very early on, like always make sure that you know who your customer is, right? And like make sure the market is green for it, like if there's an appetite for it. Apple went on and created demand for a product that people didn't need. Now, I'm not saying I'm Apple, but I do think we should do our due diligence to make sure that the market is ready for it, because when you launch too soon or too late and the timing is not right, you could have the best product in the world and it could not work because we're not all Tim Cook. And I think it's really important to find where you can bet the product, right? I come from the beauty space, so I have done consumer studies before. So I knew like where to go. You can always do a quick Google search, ask other friends in the space to understand where you should consumer research. You of course have to pay for it, but that money goes a long way because it gives you just so
Yeah,
much data and it vets your idea. And actually sometimes as a founder, you might have to pivot. You might be stuck so deeply onto something, but when you get the consumer data, you're like, oh my God, I was wrong about all of this. So I need to change this. And to me, that's actually a blessing because if you rebrand after launch, they'll cause you a ton of loss financially. So it's better to spend that money up front, get the data, tweak what you have to, and then launch.
yeah. And I was talking about this workshop I did, and I'm going to do it again anytime soon for everyone in my community because I have never done that. I'm
Yeah.
terrified, to be honest. I do it in private communities always, but then with mine, I have never done it. So I need to do it. So, but anyways, the first item was like, it was like the 10 things every brand should have to be successful in 2024, high level. And there wasn't any shortcut or any trick or any tactic. It's all about going back to the basics and the fundamentals. The first one is having a great product. How do you make sure you have a great product, right? Because it sounds easy and obvious, but it's not, as you were saying. And not validating that. For example, one brand we had here in the pod, they sell sunscreen, protection, and it's a really good story. They did 63 blind tests, 63 blind tests, not 62 and not 64, because it was then when over, I think it was 90 something percent of the people chose them over the competitors. So there are many ways brands validate demand. Some brands, one founder, this is funny or funnier, I guess. They went to Central Park and to many other locations after with a sign. They sell, kind of a revolutionary bag for multiple use case scenarios, blah blah. And they were like, ask us about our bags, in Central Park, and they got a lot of hype from that. And there are a lot of ways, but the most important thing is test whether there's demand for what you're
Oh,
selling.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And
think for what we did, and I always tell skincare brands, anything that's topical, even supplements, like anything that consumers like ingesting or applying topically, it's touching your body. Please do a consumer study and do clinicals. And I think for, from a regulatory standpoint, if somebody is trying to launch a skincare brand, you definitely should do clinical testing. So we
yeah,
did 90-day testing. I was dying inside because my scientists were like, yeah, we're going to do this 90-day study. It's going to be better for your data. I'm like, I don't want 90-day study. And they were like, I don't care. We're going to do it. And my dermatologist was like, you're absolutely doing a 90-day study. He's like, you're lucky I'm not putting you through 6 months. I'm like, okay. So it gives you good before and afters. And I think it does make investors also like that data, right? And consumers like that data. So we actually do share that with our consumers on our socials. And it's nice to be candid when you do have that data. And if you don't get that results, it gives you time to tweak the formulation. I'd rather launch something right than launch it too soon, because then you will have to pull it back out of the market. And then again, money is lost, which I
yeah,
think a
yeah.
lot of people get so
People
thirsty.
people interview here in the pod. We had like people mentioning going from launching a new product, an invention, let's call it that way, from I don't know, a few months or a year up to 10 years. 10 years doing that's
Yeah.
probably a lot, but for them it was necessary, you know, and non-stop, not interrupted, or no, 10 years of development. For others it was 5, 2.5, etc. But
Yeah.
put your effort if you want to create something that's worthwhile. It doesn't need to be years. Sometimes you spent a lot of years already in the industry, right? Not everyone has that. Some people start from scratch and they don't have any experience at all. So they need to spend that time. You spent 15
Yeah.
years in the space, and that's gotta be worth for
I think
something, right?
minimum people need to spend at least 2 years. And I come from the space and I still had to spend 2 years, right? So I think it's just, you can't take shortcuts on certain things. And I do highly
Yeah,
recommend people. I know a lot of people just private label things, right? And then they sell it.
yeah.
Does it work?
It must,
Sometimes it
yeah. And you must be doing something good, because not only, if you are, watching this or listening to this and you are already impressed by everything that she has done, well, listen to this. She has won already in only a little bit more than a year, 3 or 4 awards. Is that
yeah.
correct?
That is
Wow.
correct. I didn't expect it. So I will say lately I have found out that some awards are paid, but I think a lot of the traditional beauty ones are still very organic and they are really hard to win. So I think 3 months into our launch, we actually won the New Beauty Best Men's Skincare Award, which I was shocked by. And that was our first win. And that really helped us kind of make our brand appeal to customers. So it kind of gives you the stamp of approval from people. So on the boards of these award shows, and New Beauty is kind of like the Vogue of fashion. And for Beauty Matter last year, we were the top 5 finalists across 10,000 brands. So I
Wow.
think that to me is quite a win. in our category. And then we won the Lux Magazine Award. And there was one more. Actually can't think of it right now because I just got the email 2 weeks ago. But I think those awards have a jury of people that have been in the space, right? They know the products that they're looking for. There's a lot of editors because they get so many products and then they test it out. Then there is dermatologists and some scientists and chemists and some influencers too. So I think there's like a good diverse range of people that are in the jury to select some brands that win these awards. So I think for us, it's just definitely gives us a stamp of approval and makes you feel good. And I think when you can put that on your D2C platforms, the little seal, you know, the customer perception is also that, okay, this brand is vetted and approved. So there's an association with another successful brand, like Rolling Stones called us out for the best men's skincare system. We got the same thing from Entertainment Tonight. We got the same thing from CNN. So I think for us, like these stamps of approval were so key because when a man goes to your website or a woman goes to your website and they're like, oh, gift ideas for my boyfriend. And they see that stamp and the comment and like the logo of, let's say, Rolling Stones, I think that really helps drive that purchase because people make emotional purchases and then you have 5 seconds to sell them.
Yeah, 100%. That's amazing. Congrats. I
Thank
wanted to ask
you.
you about, what is it like to be a woman founder of a men's skincare brand?
I love the question. So I was at Cosmoprof and, you know, Cosmoprof is a beauty conference and we had a booth and somebody came by and I was just having a nice conversation with them. And they were like, God, I love your brand. This is great. Da, da, da. But they were like, hold on, this is men's and you're a woman. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, as a woman, why would you launch a men's skincare company? And my answer to them was a question. I'm like, do you know who's the founder of Victoria's Secret? It's a man. Do you know who's the founder of Pretty Little Thing? Also a billion-dollar lingerie dress company. It's a man. And P&G is owned by pretty much a man. CEO is a man. And they have fem care products. So I'm like, if they can launch super female-oriented products, then somebody like me who actually comes from the space and men actually rely on females for the decision-making of self-care products, I think I'm the ideal candidate for building a line that I have 15 years of experience in from a woman's point of view when men meet. So yeah, I think that was my answer, but I love answering this question.
What was their reaction after that? They were like, oh,
It was a mic drop, right? They were like,
yeah, totally.
so I just love that.
100%. And, you mentioned companies like P&G, L'Oreal, these giants in space, and somebody, listening to these, watching these and saying, hey, I love to start my company, but how on earth do you compete with these guys?
Yeah, so you don't compete with them. That's the lesson
Hey,
I
I love
learned.
that. Go for it. Yeah.
So I think, so I have done M&A in my career for these companies, right? So what I learned in them is the brands that companies like P&G, L'Oreal, Estee Lauder, Chanel is private, they don't acquire, but what they look for is companies that have been able to capture the market from an authentic standpoint. They have a customer base that, like, let's say a L'Oreal and a P&G. L'Oreal is very diversified, so they can actually touch certain markets, but even though like their growth strategy depends on acquisition. And this is just a trend now. Most companies, large parent companies, instead of building something from scratch, doing all the work, it is expensive to make a company. You just go buy data, you buy a company that comes with an existing customer base. And let's say my brand, right? Someday I do want to come full circle and get acquired by one of the big giants, because yeah, that would be my dream. But if I have been able to crack the code in the men's space and be able to create this loyalty across a certain demographic, that to L'Oreal is more beneficial than creating their own lines. So I think the founder authenticity, the knowledge, the way they have done the brand building, that to them is more valuable than trying to build their own brand. So that's what the giants look for. And so you don't really compete with them because you can't, right? I tried to compete even in the ad space. L'Oreal spends like millions of dollars, not even a million, but I think a day on advertising. So you can't, as a small brand, just compete with that, right? You have to build all your channels collectively in a strategic manner. So you're not just relying on one platform to drive revenue for you. It has to be diversified, but at the same time, it has to be strategic in a way where like you post something on social, it drives a sale on your website or Amazon or wherever you are selling. So it's kind of like that. And retail channels also depend on brands to do all the marketing, merchandising, advertising for them to drive traffic to the stores. So there's a lot on the brands and it's not easy.
Yeah, I've been discussing this at length with many founders and CMOs here. Some of them, they sell men's underwear, and you might be saying, but Calvin Klein and many other, big names in this space, how on earth do you compete with them? And these founders have created something amazing. They are from Canada. The name of the brand is Man-Made. And after testing, having models and things like that, they said they wanted to redefine, the underwear for men because it lacked many, I don't know, comfort, etc. But the fun stuff is that there are four founders. The four of them are the face and body, why not, of the brand,
I
and
love
they are
that.
everywhere. They love the authentic. They have a lot of humor. They call their customers like on speaker and they record themselves and use it for the ads. Using like they go and do interviews with customers, on
Yeah.
events. It's like they do super fun stuff, and you can feel, the vibe, and you can feel that, they are in some way competing with against them. But on the other end, you're looking for something different. Some others, I think the brand is called PSD, underwear for sports, for, yeah, practicing sports. So you can have a, the same product as the big guys, but for some specific use case scenario. So
Yeah.
underwear for sports, right? So maybe if I buy well, whatever trunk boxer of Calvin Klein, maybe it's not for sports. So this is made for sports. So you
You
can
should
still,
connect with these founders because I would love to cross collaborate with them. We have the same demographic, different products.
so you can cross collaborate with brands.
I love cross collaborating with brands. I think
Tell me
that
more
is so
about.
key. Because I mean, think about it. A guy that's looking for underwear, he cares about comfort and does not want to wear a Hanes like basic ugly underwear. So he cares about, what it looks like because most men do show off their underwear in their jeans, right? It's just very common. So you want something that's comfortable but also looks good. And then those guys, I would say a percentage of them would care about how they look on the outside. So I think for me, that's such a good cross collaboration opportunity. And for them too, right? My guys that want to look good, they definitely care about their underwear.
What type of, let's do it here if you want, unless of course you don't want to, but what type of collaboration? Because I think it would be a good exercise for everyone, because, collaborating sounds like, it's not something that people can picture, enough. It's like, okay, what they will collaborate with brands. That's good. But wait, what does that mean really in practice? What could you do with these guys, for example?
So I think my dream would be the way I would want to structure it. So typically, let's say if I do collaborations like summertime, I would want to do it with a sunscreen brand, right? We don't carry sunscreen right now. We haven't created a formula. So if there's only a sunscreen brand with their sunscreen SKU, I think amazing cross collaboration, right? Sunscreen needs skincare, skincare needs sunscreen. Perfect. For underwear, which is all year round, I think I would actually do the simplest one as a giveaway. The second one is actually creating an ad that's like super cool, super funny, super corny. Guys love humor. And create that ad with underwear and skincare. And that way, you can get email signups through that. You can do free product giveaway for that, and people just sign up. So I think it's mutually beneficial then for all the founders because you get the data, you can email market them, you can do free giveaways, you can do sampling, you can do influencer marketing with that stuff. So I think there's just so many opportunities. So I think for this one, I think I would do like a cool ad with the underwear brand as a collaboration because I haven't seen that happen anywhere. And I think that could be a good test.
Yeah, no, yeah, that sounds amazing. And what type of collaborations have you done in the past? To name a few, if you want.
We have done mostly fragrances, and they work. We have done like some like gifting like shirts or like some blankets or like coffee mug and like shaving, but it's not like those are like more like gift guide type of collaborations. Do they drive a lot of traffic because they're so expected and so predictable? People expect that. I think it'd be super interesting to do like something with, Manscaped is a personal groom company for your private grooming. I think that could be such a cool collaboration because they don't have skincare. So I'm like, okay, I think grooming and facial care, they kind of go hand in hand. So I think that would be like my dream collab.
Hey, so I have a few intros, I guess, after we
Ah, thank
the
you. I
recording.
would love
Yeah, I
that.
know, amazing. Yeah, I can already see many of these cool things happen. As I told you many times, in this call before recording and in the previous one we had, you know, I love the fact that you're betting on us, on men to improve, everything, in this case, the skin, etc. So yeah, I'll do everything I can to introduce you to some other great founders in this space.
Love that.
They're
Thank
doing
you.
something complementary to what you're doing. So that's great.
That's helpful. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. So we already mentioned, talking about online efforts. We discussed a little bit about ads. You said, competing against these giants. Of course, you cannot rely only on ads, or even though ads, I'm a firm believer that you know that already that ads really, really work these days. Of course, we need to be smart about the strategy and creative and different things. But you mentioned Amazon as well. So what else do you do? Well, collabs with brands, influencers. Do you do anything with
Yeah.
them?
So we do influencer marketing, but I think we only work with influencers that we know that we have worked with in the past and they drive some ROI. I will say, to be candid, I know we touched on ads. Ads have become extremely expensive. I think all the brands that launched in COVID and right before COVID, they really maximized, right? They were able to be really successful because the ad rates were so cheap. Everybody was shopping online. You only had your computer to live off of for 3 years. So I think that was really a good time for brands to, monetize. I think after COVID, it has been challenging. There has been several updates to Meta. Um, Google is super crowded too, and now people are testing TikTok. TikTok is getting crowded. The demographic runs a little bit younger versus where we play, so it's a little tricky. And I
You
think
will be
there's a lot of
surprised. You will be surprised.
yeah, yeah, we can
Yes.
discuss. I tested TikTok, so it was running quite young. However, I think there's like really not that much study around it. Like we knew Meta ads, like that was like the platform to play in for a long time. I think TikTok is still in kind of like in the learning phase for a lot of companies. Some people are doing so well on it and some people are just not. So I think I'm just in the gray area. Like I don't know if I want to be on that. But for us, Amazon had some proven success. We actually recently got burned by an agency that just didn't perform. So I think we're gonna have to restructure and kind of figure out what we do. But I think I truly believe Amazon is gonna be one place where men shop and there's one place to succeed in, because that you need to understand again, where does your consumer shop? That is super key, right? For me, it's like my guy is not sitting on Facebook, to be honest. Like, even if he is, like, he's not buying from ads. To convince a man to like click on the ad and like it's hard. I'm sure Dr. Squash does it well. There's other brands that does it well. But I think for us, Amazon is definitely one place where a guy wants to go shop. He feels safe. He's a multi-brand shopper and he likes his Amazon Prime. So I think we have ironed that out and honed in on that. And I think that's one area where we would continue to
I
play.
think we have like the Amazon shopper, the online shopper, the offline shopper. I Google for something, and my wife, instead of doing that, she goes to Instagram and searches for what she wants on Instagram. So I think these days everything's diversified. The Amazon, the eBay, the whatever. So I think the beauty about that is that you really need to be everywhere. Being
You need
everywhere doesn't
omnichannel.
really mean to be everywhere, but in the applying the 80-20 principle, at least being in those, 20% of places that will, yield the 80% of results at least, right? So if you are in the top, performing channels, organic and, with paid as well, well, of course, we are talking about acquisition that includes email. Email is a very, very like, let's say, big acquisition channel. It's not only a retention channel. The abandoned cart welcome series, all that, those are acquisition, campaigns and efforts, the campaigns itself. So I think that there are many places they can be. I will do a small parenthesis, what you said before about TikTok. I wrote about this on the newsletter or in late August, I believe. We have a dear client of us. They sell auto parts for certain car models and makes, and they sell like $700 auto parts, not $20, right? And they do very, very well on TikTok ads. And I won't take credit for that. Yes, we started that and we do great with them, but I wanted to prove not what we do for them, but that it's possible to, um, to sell to people that are not young only because their audience is not young at all. So
Yeah.
TikTok these days we have young audiences, but we also have older audiences as well. I don't consider myself old. I'm 37. Am I old? I think I'm old for TikTok, but I don't use TikTok. But I don't use
I'm in my
anything.
30s and I think I'm old for TikTok. I don't like going on TikTok because then it just sucks you into this rabbit hole and you're like an hour goes by, like, what the hell? What am I watching? So you're just watching people dance and like just yeah.
You know, I think it's one thing is like following a trend, but sometimes, I have friends that are on TikTok. My grandmothers, I have two of them alive. They are like 85 or 84, and they
Yeah.
are on Facebook, they are on Instagram, they are not on TikTok, definitely. But these days, the younger generations are probably on Twitch. They are like even like Discord, like other channels that
Yeah.
I've never opened in my life, even so
Yep.
they're everywhere. But I quickly wanted to ask, is it me or you are also the face of your brand? You go out there and you create, let's say, founder-led content too.
Yeah, I do that. So initially, actually, I got really bad advice at the beginning. Same thing going back to the idea of like, you're a woman, you should not be selling men's products. And then when I started selling, I was like, hold on, guys actually come to me. My guy friends are coming to me for advice on what to do for their skin. So I'm like, if I actually owned my experience, which I should be really proud of because I know exactly what I'm doing better than other founders out there that have successful brands because they have no idea what the hell they're doing, right? They just rely on a random person to like create the product. I'm actually building this and I know what works and I know what will make you look good. And I think I look pretty decent for my age. I think I'm in a very good spot to be able to give advice on what works, what doesn't, what you should do to take care of your skin. Because 80% of the consumer market is women heavy and women does make the decision of what to purchase for the household. And that includes men's everything from cologne to body soap to grooming to their razors, all of it, right? And men blindly trust the female head of the household to make that purchasing decision for them. So why should I not actually own this and sell directly to my customers? And I think a lot of times, a lot of my organic sales and repeat buyers have come from me directly selling.
Yeah, and guess what? Yesterday I went, to buy some clothes for myself to a men's store, right? Guess what? There were two women, no men at all. Two women as sales, persons, salespeople, two women, right? That was on purpose, there wasn't any man, like two women alone in the store, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that we are past that, like that phase of, I'm a woman, I cannot sell men's products and the other way
Yeah, but I think
around. And if people
end
are
of the
not,
day,
that is their problem, right?
yeah, but I think end of the premise is like whether you're straight or whether you're gay, right? I have a lot of gay friends as well. And they all come to me when we go shopping. They were like, oh my God, tell me what looks good. And same thing, like with
Yeah,
straight guys, they want to look good for the females. So it is very important that you take advice of a female that you
yes,
trust to, tell you if you look good or not. So I think to me, that's really key.
exactly. And how do you, like, really quickly, how do you plan your content? Do you, plan ahead a batch of content? Do you just do what crosses your mind, or how do you do that?
So I like to plan. I'm a planner. I do like to plan the content for, like the main content. And now let's say something happens, right, in the media. I don't know, like Taylor Swift, whatever. I wanted to create a content because I was like, it's trending. So you have to mix things. And luckily my social media girl, she's kind of on top of, she's a Gen Z. So she's on top of everything that's happening. So she would then drop in like a Drake piece because Drake did something in the media, or Taylor Swift, something happened. She'll like make like a funny reel about it just to like make sure you drive that engagement on your social. I truly like to plan it based on the event calendar, right? So like we have holiday coming in and you have to like plan for the rest of the year. So the major pieces of content should be planned, and then I throw in like some curveballs in the middle. I could do a better job, but this is working for now.
That's great. And what about
Yeah.
retention? A little bit, what are you doing with regards to, engaging with your customers? Because I guess you have these, as we were talking offline, this phase of activating your, even more I would say the first time customers, right? So activating, for those who don't know what that means, or maybe it's me that calls it that way, but it's the fact to, the action of making them or encouraging them to use the products they bought, because if they don't, they won't buy again, right? So how do you go about retention?
So I think retention really you can only just do on your DTC and retail, right? If you're in retail, if that. But I think mostly on DTC you can own that. So I think for welcome page we have a 15% off. And it just varies, right? So if we're running a sale, which we are running a sale, we'll do like a 10% off. And then with the loyal customers, we actually sometimes do these flash sales and we send it to our VIP customers that are repeat buyers and whatnot. Or we'll just like email them a discount code. I think those go a long way, especially like if somebody has a longer LTV with you, you want to reward that customer. And if you're running a sale, there is times when we'll not advertise it and we'll only do it for our repeat purchasers. And there's always reminders. So I think email marketing is very powerful when it comes to that, or SMS marketing, to be like, hey, your order is coming up. Like, do you want to customize it? Like, we're doing a free gift this month, that kind of thing. I think that definitely goes a long way.
Yeah, just in case this gives you ideas, good or bad ideas, probably both, and the listeners as well, why not? We have discussed here in the pod with some founders and CMOs what they do, and some of them mentioned things like, sending handwritten notes. For example, this company, Man-Made, and some others, what they do is sending a different message for each, let's say, number of order. If it's the number one order or the first order, and then the second and third, they send different messages for them, like thank you for ordering or thank you for coming back. And if it's the third or fourth, or probably for, big orders, it's like, oh, like sometimes they call them and ask them, about that. And again, sometimes they even record it for the ads. Some other people, send gifts through the customer success department. Sometimes the
Yeah,
customer success department is the founder, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but it's, we are all wearing many hats. But the point is that as a company, we, give them something, or, in the beauty space, I guess, you have like the element of, the sample, to send them a sample,
something.
or, with,
That's huge.
with mail, Postscript or some other, tools, SMS as well. And then, of course, why not? Probably early access to some new releases, etc. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Great, great. So I know we have only a few minutes left, so I want to be respectful of your time. I wanted you to know, sorry, not to know. If you want, I wanted you to give a piece of advice to any aspiring beauty or skincare entrepreneurs who are starting out and are listening to this.
I
What would
would
you?
say, yeah, I would say, so I've had so many learnings, like so many. And I always say, oh my God, I wish like I could rewind time and have these learnings before I launched. I would say personally, have some experience in the area that you're launching your product in, right? Like having that expertise, like don't go completely blind. And if you do go completely blind, let's say you're a tech whiz and you want to launch a beauty company enabled by tech, something, right? So like have you have the tech knowledge, but then make sure your partner has the beauty knowledge or it's complementary to you in some shape or form. Also, it does really, really, really help to have a co-founder. I don't have a co-founder, so I've kind of like done all of this by myself and I have a team of people that support me. But at the same time, two is better than one when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to bouncing ideas off of each other, when it comes to taking risk. It's always nice to be able to like share that risk and ideation with another person who also complements your skill set, do not have the same skill set, right, as the other person. So I would say those are definitely my learnings and definitely have some expertise in what you're building.
Yes. I totally agree. And yeah, I have had a founder. It's a dear friend of mine. We are still friends for over 10 years. And then I went solo, let's say, and launched the new version of the agency we started in 2013. And then I partner up with Flora. She's amazing. Shout out to Flora. She was my,
Yeah.
the best team member I had. And he said, I don't ever want her to go because I love the work she does and the clients love her. So I said, hey, let's do it together, because sh we all felt she already was an owner of the company. So yes, I totally advise. I've been in both sides, being a co-founder and being alone as well. And a co-founder, it's really good. You know what? For me, it was really good in the low times, when I needed support, I needed to that, advice and those words to say, everything's going to be okay and we can do it. And because we all lose our minds, in this crazy journey that it's been an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. There are ups and downs. It's a crazy roller coaster. Great days, you're celebrating, and then bad days, and then so we that sometimes comes in handy, when you have it.
For sure. I think having support and, anyone that says, I did it all by myself, nobody that has been successful has done it by themselves. And if you're doing it by yourself, I don't think you're very smart. So
Yeah.
all seek support from other people. And I think most of the times people are willing to help. Of course, there are some sharks and that will like take you
Yeah. So,
down.
so
Yeah, I had
do
a lot
do
of
you have
learning.
anyone you would like to mention that has helped you along the way, or anyone you
I
admire?
think some of my investors and some of my friends have actually that believed in me. And my mentors, like, my executives that, my CA, she's my chief legal officer for my last company. She treats me like a daughter, always gives me the best advice. I can actually confide in her and give her like the ugliest scenarios. And she always gives me the best advice. That's, of thinking about my well-being.
Do you want to give her a shout out, to name her?
No, I think I'm gonna keep it private because I don't like to, I publicize it without their knowledge. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Amazing. So this was amazing. I wanted to thank you again for being here in the pod. For everyone listening or watching, everything is going to be in the show notes at the DTCinsider.com. Once you find the episode, you will see everything there, including, the website and anywhere else they can find you
Our
as well.
social media, please. You can put my social media handle and my company's social media handle. And guys, we will be running when this podcast launches. We'll be starting our holiday sale. I believe sometime late October. So the code is holiday 24, and you will also see that on the website. So yeah, come shop and buy your spouses a gift.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So Holiday 24 is a promo code for buying products on the website. Of course, the link to the website will be on the show notes. Well, Lekha, it
Correct.
was a pleasure to have you here. Thanks again for being on the pod.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It was a pleasure. Chat soon.